Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Island 30. We have some of our best stories from right across Vancouver Island. All that and more coming up.
From everywhere on Vancouver Island, this is Island 30. Here is Dana Hutchings.
During the worst hurricane season in history, Julie and Colin Angus rowed across the Atlantic Ocean. The completed journey makes Julie the first and only woman to ever do it. Dean Stoltz takes us along on their incredible journey.
On the same day I was enjoying my birthday, another entity came to life, Hurricane Epsilon. It began bearing straight towards our rowboat.
This is Colin Angus rowing somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It's late 2005, and he's rowing right into the middle of a hurricane.
Well, we've got another hurricane coming towards us, and we've done everything we possibly can to prepare the boat. We've battened down the hatches, we've secured down loose gear, tied everything, screwed down the hatches inside the cabin. And now it's just a waiting game.
A waiting game he'd play with his then-fiancée Julie, who was rowing with him across the Atlantic. They even fashioned helmets that looked like turbans to protect their heads in the stormy seas. But this game was no fun at all.
Well, the ocean starts to grow. The waves, which are normally just a couple feet, grew in height to 10 feet and then higher. They were raging at 50 feet. They were breaking waves, and so we're just being tossed around by this incredible force and power. And at that point, we're no longer outside on the boat. It's impossible to row and very dangerous to be outside, so we're inside the cabin.
Julie and Colin are home now after yet another exciting adventure, rowing in these two homemade rowboats from the northern tip of Scotland to Syria. But it's still that Atlantic road trip when she became the first woman to row the Atlantic that Julie thinks most about as she drifts off each night.
There's been moments that have been quite exhilarating. The shark, the great white shark we saw, was one of those moments. Enormous dorsal fin, probably about 4 feet, slicing through the water. The shark circling the boat, going right underneath it. It was pretty exciting. That was like a foot away from us. I opened the door and I looked inside and I saw all I saw was the side of the freighter. It was a foot.
For 5 months, Julie and Colin row, 18 hours a day, taking turns day after day after day. From Portugal, headed for Miami, but strong currents, unpredictable winds, 3 tropical storms, and 2 hurricanes alter their course. They end up about as far west as possible in Costa Rica, 10,000 kilometers from where they started. And like many worthy adventures, this one is now a book written by Julie herself, all about her amazing journey in a rowboat in a hurricane.
I wanted it to be an adventure story. I also wanted it to be a story of the beauty of the ocean and the fragility of it. One of the things that touched me the most about this expedition is just realizing how interconnected we are with the world around us. So I think for me, one of the most important messages is to really make people realize just how beautiful and important our environment is.
The book is now on store shelves, and Julie has just completed a cross-country tour, sharing it and her amazing adventure with Canadians.
Staying with the seas, here on the west coast of Canada, we have some of the most pristine water in the world. So pristine, our shellfish is in high demand. The views and vistas in the Comox Valley, spectacular. And it's the combination of the mountains and the ocean that makes this region ideal for this. Shellfish production.
Well, here in British Columbia, we grow $34 million worth of product. So it's a big industry, and it's been around about 100 years.
50% of the oysters, scallops, clams, and mussels grown in the province is done here in Bain Sound.
And because of where we are, we have the advantage of harvesting, processing, shipping all in the same day. So products that are harvested on, say, Monday will be in the restaurants Tuesday.
It's that fresh reputation that's put this region on the map.
British Columbia is famous. I mean, when we go to Europe to sell our products, the Europeans are really keen on British Columbia. They think of Canada as a whole as a really clean place. And so certainly our competitors often can't offer such a clean environment. And so our products are well sought after.
So how does it work?
We raise it from larvae to seed size, and then from seed size it goes on to the beach. And then we harvest them, depends on the size you want to grow them out, anywhere from 18 months upward.
The larger oysters take 2 to 3 years to grow. Fanny Bay produces 10,000 pounds of clams and 8,000 dozen oysters a week. And it's not enough for consumers.
And we cannot grow enough product. There is no problem selling our product. The problem is growing enough to meet the demand.
Just like grapes in the vineyard or other farm crops on land, shellfish farmers have bad years as well.
The oysters, we don't feed them, so they have to get the food from the ocean, and depends on the water temperature. Sometimes when it's too cold, there's not enough food in the water, so it depends on the weather, rain, and temperatures.
As for the stigma that oysters are expensive,
if you're talking about oyster meat, 1 pound top oyster meat, I believe, is retail around $10 a pound in Vancouver. So if you look at a ribeye steak, which I like, you're looking at least $18, $20 a pound.
it's a delicacy that's in demand.
I think we need to embrace other opportunities, and farming is one of them. And this Comox Valley region is really second to none on the island for having that kind of diversity.
The island's bounty on the half shell. She painted the Haida on the Queen Charlotte Islands, and she painted landscapes in broad circular strokes. Bruce Kirkpatrick has more now on an island icon, Emily Carr.
She was born here in 1871. Emily Carr House still stands on Victoria's Government Street. But Emily has a new home now, not so far away. Much of her legacy can be found at the Art Gallery of Greater Victoria.
They like her because her art is sincere. It really expresses how she felt about the British Columbia landscape.
While this is artistically important, so is a treasure downstairs. And to find that, we have to go through a door that's part of a wall. Downstairs, down halls, and through an elevator, and we find Shore and Forest, Cordova Bay. This is a painting Emily Carr did while on a sketching trip to Cordova Bay and Saanich with her 5 dogs, pet monkey, and friends. The Art Gallery of Greater Victoria planned to spend as much as $160,000 for this work. They got it at auction for $110,000.
In 1931, she went on this sketching trip, and she wasn't overly thrilled with the area, so she didn't go back.
It was once owned by a group of 7 Canadian artist Lauren Harris, and will be displayed upstairs with other Carr paintings.
There's all kinds of things here in the basement of the Art Gallery of Greater Victoria, things the public never sees. This is David Seeger's workshop, and he's working on an Emily Carr interactive bench right over there. Interactive with a screen, you can press a button and find out all about Emily.
Yes, there's 3 videos attached to this computer, as well as a photo gallery, so people can learn more about Emily Carr.
And a place to sit.
And a lovely place to sit.
Emily trained in San Francisco and also painted in England and France. Her love was the indigenous people, the totems and houses of the First Nations.
She was original. She wasn't just painting how everybody could see the landscape, like photography, for instance. She was painting something that came from within her. So we actually do see an expression of her enthusiasm, of her belief that there's something spiritual in the landscape.
Did she use gasoline as paint thinner?
She did indeed. You have to remember, this was the Depression, and she didn't have a lot of money. So she thinned out her paints with gasoline for economic reasons.
The majority of Emily Carr paintings are in Vancouver, but there are 34 treasures here at the Art Gallery of Greater Victoria, including a new one, not so new at all. It was painted in 1931.
Several years ago, a friend of mine lost a dog. CHEK News was very helpful in helping him find his dog, which was a helping dog, a dog trained to do various things for him since he has disabilities. Really appreciated that service. It did a lot for us, and thank you.
I know it sounds strange, but I live in Richmond and I watch CHEK because I love Victoria. And to me, CHEK News is Victoria, and I'm not kidding.
I love CHEK News because I like things to stay the same and I don't like change, and I find that they are very consistent and very nice anchors and
nice people that work for them.
Nice people.
Including the cameraman.
Yeah.
It keeps me informed of, you know, political debates, sports events, and generally just what's going on in the city that, you know, I want to participate in.
I just love it because it has all the news from all over the island. And without it, I wouldn't be able to know what's going on in North Island or Central Island, even in the city. So I just love it.
We love CHEK News because we started watching it by accident when we first came here 3 years ago, and we liked what we saw, and we've just never gotten over that habit.
I like the presenters. I like the people that present the news, and I like the local stories. I like having things that are based right here in Victoria rather than things that come from Vancouver primarily.
It's obviously very local. You hear about things that are happening in Victoria. Some of the people that work there I know. Makes it very personable.
I like watching the local news coverage and local sports coverage that's available on the late night 11 o'clock news.
If you love Italian and you live in the capital region, you likely know the Segato brothers. The two run the Italian Deli. It's an institution, busy enough to keep them on their toes.
How you doing there? Hi, how you doing?
It's the greeting hundreds get every day at Italian Food Imports.
Pasta to go, one meatball. Pasta to go, one meatball.
It's a busy, busy place.
About 350 meatballs a day. Oh, pasta's about 150 servings. Yeah, about 350 sandwiches or so, I guess, a day.
Often there's a lineup out the door and a little bit of sibling rivalry on the side.
Too long. You can time me if you want. Take Mauricio's time, cut it in half, and that's all it takes me. There you are, pasta, no meatballs.
That's right. The deli is family-owned and operated by Maurizio.
I used to bug him that he was adopted, but he's not.
And Massimo Segato.
If something's wrong, it's solved pretty quickly. Smack on the back of the head, or it's all good. We don't have to worry about, hey, that's assault, or...
Their days?
Jacko, can you put this on the grill for me, please?
Hectic, to say the least.
Yeah, oh yeah, it gets busy. Like, it's literally out the door. Monday's a popular day, but every day it's busy. But that's good. You just try not to look at the lineup. Just look at the person in front of you, and that's about it. You just get through it.
And they love bringing a little piece of Italy to Vancouver Island.
It's back to our culture, back to our roots. And we enjoy people, so it's a good fit for us. That was the weekend good?
It's the relationships with customers that keep them coming back. And, well, maybe the food.
Best value in town. It's like $5 for pasta every day. That much?
I like the fresh sandwiches that are made, just custom ordered. Yeah.
Worth waiting for?
Definitely, yeah.
One-stop shopping for all your Italian needs, I guess.
Oh, they're great. They're always so friendly. Always happy to help you out. It's just a nice place to come.
And the limonata, any meatballs on the pasta?
A local business that feels like a family.
You get to know the customers. I mean, we have people that used to come in that were expecting, and now their kids are, second, third year university. So that's neat. People come in regularly. So when we had our kids, people drop off gifts, and they ask, how are the kids today? And a couple of lemonades, some vodka. Being a local business and, relying on clientele that's local, you get somewhat of a rapport. Like yourself, when you guys come in, right? It's nice seeing familiar faces. You get to, although it's a brief moment in time, you actually get to chit-chat and how's your day, how are things? It's nice.
The brothers' success has led to a second business, a coffee shop in the downtown core called Macchiato. But who's the better brother?
I am. He probably is a bit, though. Oh, me, of course. That's probably what he said, too, though. Malcolmo, this is for you.
It's a family that works together, plays together, and will stay together. Buon appetito.
And please come back.
They love to race. You could say it's in their blood. Now a Souk family is training a third generation for the track, and these women are getting their motor running.
This type of driving requires a firm hand and nerves of steel.
Behind the wheel is veteran driver Lois Pollard Grant. And this is a champion at play. Pollard Grant not only wins stock car races, but in her spare time she's learning to play the drums. But her first love is driving fast.
My dad actually had just retired from racing. He was 65 at the time, and I talked him out of retirement to give it a try with me, and we went racing.
And what was that like?
It was awesome. That was one of my best memories, is racing with my dad.
Pollard Grant got into her first stock car for a race when she was just 21, and she hasn't looked back since. Is it a family sport? Is it something
In our case, it's definitely a family. We do it together. We go into the track, and my husband, that's where I met him, was at the Speedway. We actually pitted next to each other, and yeah, the kids, they love it. They were born with it.
Pollard Grant's 15-year-old daughter is already a veteran of the track. A self-confessed grease monkey, Laura Ashley raced for the first time last year at Western Speedway and surprised herself.
Well, the main event, I actually finished third that race, which I couldn't believe, but it was really, it was a good race. It was fun, competitive, and most of the kids are my age.
But they're not afraid to get down and dirty. The season is still several months off, but the work to fine-tune the cars never ends. These two women share a competitive spirit behind the wheel, but when the green flag drops, it's all business. What's it like when you're just getting ready for that flag to drop and when you're...
It hurts beating fast. It's beating fast and you're thinking about the race. You don't think about anything else but the race and strategy and just other drivers. And when you get out there, you just drive. You drive against the other cars and that's all you think about.
When I first started racing, I learned, you know, if you don't have the fastest car out there, I'd start at the front. As the years got on, we got better. I got to be a better driver. I got faster cars. I started near the back. And that is where the racing changed for me as far as loving that aspect of it, because that's where the challenge came in. It was one thing trying to hold your position and just trying to hold the guys off, instead of now where you're driving through the pack, and really, that's racing. That is racing. And it's been great.
With racing in their blood, they prove the old adage that the family that plays together stays together.
Twitter, it's the latest networking tool, and increasingly Twitterers are meeting face-to-face at meetings called tweet-ups. Here's Kristen Robinson.
And they got up there in front of all these people.
At first glance, it looks like any other morning coffee meeting.
BlackBerry saves the day again.
But listen closely to the conversation at this table.
So this one is Tweet Stack.
Right.
So did you try? Okay.
I don't use that. I use Tweet Stack.
And what it does, I can handle multiple accounts in here. And down here, I can do replies, direct messages, favorites.
And you can probably guess how this group met.
I have a link and I'll send it to all of you. I found a link that is a master link to all applications that work for Twitter. Everything.
These 9 business professionals are all connected through Twitter, a free social networking and microblogging service. Users, known as Twitterers or tweeps, send and read tweets, text-based posts of up to 140 characters. Unlike instant messaging, the one-on-one conversations can be heard by everyone.
You can kind of imagine it as like a big room with thousands of people in it talking about various things, and you can sort of join in on any one of the conversations. And it's a way of sharing information, links to interesting content on the web, and organizing social gatherings like this.
There's a video on YouTube if you take a look.
This is called a tweet-up, a real-world meeting between people who know each other online but may not have met face-to-face. Realtor Tim Ayers helped bring Victoria's Twitterers together in person and has watched the tweet-up trend grow.
We've had them all over the place, and it's just a good way to get together. I've been to Vancouver, and there was about 50 people at that one that I went to, and it's just kind of like getting together with people you already know on some level and then meeting them in real life, and you already have stuff to talk about because you've been talking about it online for weeks.
For me, the value has been in expanding a network that's very specific to what I do for a living.
Robin Quinn became a tweep 6 months ago. Since then, she's tweeted her way to professional success by following people in science and media technology.
I actually have contacts now with PC World on new gadgets. The columnists communicate with me about what they're doing and what they're looking for. So for public relations, Twitter is really working for me.
I tweet because it's a really good way to actually establish connections with people who have something interesting to say and things that I'm looking at not only for my personal life but for my business.
Communications expert David Black says tweet-ups allow followers to engage in the full bandwidth of interpersonal communication.
It is still an indispensable thing to meet people face-to-face. That the richness of that contact, that the moral density of that contact matters very much.
Janice Lacouvet knows that. She's the only person here who became a tweep the reverse way, through her monthly business breakfast group.
Because those individuals were actually people that I knew live, I then moved to Twitter to be able to have conversations with them there.
If you run into these Twitterers over coffee, be careful what you say. They have the power to let the whole world know with just a few clicks.
I think it's good. I think it's a good news broadcast. It's got good local stuff on it, and I hope it'll continue.
I love CHEK-TV.
How come?
It's local. You get all the news, what's happening around town.
I've grown up watching the CHEK 6 News and their programs and stuff on there. I would be really sad to see it go.
It's a great local station?
Yeah.
Sure. I do love it, and it gives you lots of information and lots of good news.
I think it's because it's a local station and everybody likes watching local news. Yeah.
I love CHEK-TV.
Yeah?
See,
How
that's
come?
what I told you. I'm watching CHEK-TV since I was this big.
Oh. We better hang on to it.
I think so. I think so.
I think that CHEK-TV should certainly be kept on the air because I watch it all the time.
I know, me too.
And
Well, why do you love it, though?
because it gives a lot of local news, and I find out things that are happening around Victoria as well as around the world. So that's why I really like it, and I like the people that are on it.
Well, it's local, and it's nice to get the local news instead of trying to get Vancouver or something like that.
People like to keep, up to date on what's going on and locally. Yeah. So sure, absolutely. I think everything's too mainstream and centralized, and yeah, why not keep it around? You guys are great.
I love Gordy Tupper.
Do you?
Yes, and I need for him to keep his job, and I need for everybody who's working at CHEK-TV to keep their job too.
Yeah.
I like how it highlights the local news, and it just brings the community together.
She's taken the concept of local and eco-friendly to a whole new level. This mompreneur is thinking about her daughter's future and the future of the planet. With a measure, a cut of fabric, thread, and a whole lot of stitches.
I love just taking something from a drawing and making it into a reality and making it into a product and having other people wear it. It's great.
Jennifer Grant is not only making clothing, she's making a difference.
This one's made out of bamboo, so you can just wash it in your washer and let it hang air dry.
Okay. Welcome to Salt's Organic Clothing in Souk.
I started Salt's because I always loved fashion, and I chose to go the organic, eco-friendly direction because I love nature, and I just wanted to, if I was going to put my heart and soul into something, I wanted to make sure it was good for the planet.
Good for the planet, but the idea wasn't easy. Being eco-friendly hasn't always been on people's minds.
When I started, it wasn't such a hip thing, but it's definitely booming now. I started in 2005, and you couldn't get eco-friendly fabrics anywhere.
And now?
I had to really search. And now it's a lot more available, and the prices have dropped a lot too.
Grant uses fabrics such as hemp and bamboo and avoids ones she calls harmful, such as polyester, which is made from petroleum, and one that might surprise some.
Cotton is incredibly harmful. It's responsible for 2/3 of the world's pesticide use. So that's a huge, huge polluter in our environment. So if we can just even get rid of that, what a step we would make.
That's cute too. Now customers are supporting not only the environment, but local and Canadian-made designs.
I think it's incredibly important, especially now we're noticing with the recession and all that going on. Like, if you're buying Canadian, you're supporting Canadian jobs and you're keeping people working in Canada.
But Grant's customers buy from as far away as France and Australia.
We sell online, mostly North America, a little bit around the world. It's really exciting to sell online because it's nice to ship things off to places that you've never been and imagine your stuff there. It's cool.
It's the place she calls home she loves the best.
The community of Stuk is wonderful. They're very supportive. They come in and they're always telling me that they love what I do and they love that I'm here. So it's really amazing to have this supportive community.
Well, she's had great success.
Are you the boss?
Grant admits it's her daughter, Penelope, who runs the place. This mompreneur is creating a healthy planet and a healthy future for her daughter. A heartwarming scene played out on a Duncan pond this spring, and don't be surprised by what you're about to see. As Sky Ryan reports, a gaggle of wild geese and their adopted nanny make for an unexpected family picture.
An unlikely family is gathering at this Duncan pond to take an afternoon swim.
We call them the nanny. They're definitely a family, and it's just really cool that he's been accepted.
This wild family of Canadian geese has not only been befriended by this domestic gander, but the goslings are now being nannied by him.
He's actually the protector of the babies. When other geese and ducks arrive on the pond, the white goose will stay with the babies, and the Canadian geese will fight off the other geese or ducks.
And this pond has a long history of this odd pairing.
When I bought the property about 5 years ago, the previous owner was telling me the story about the white goose that always returned every year with the Canadian geese. And they've been coming together for about 20 years.
They are birds of a feather, but not ones that would usually flock together. And we've seen it before on Vancouver Island. Last summer in Port Alberni, nature was put aside in favor of saving these newborn kittens' lives.
They still have their umbilical cords on and whining, looking for their mom.
First-time mother Chihuahua Karma rising to the occasion.
It's awesome. I think Karma was a savior in that, you know? Like, we needed her.
When a litter of kittens was found abandoned at this Alberni boatyard.
I just happened to look down into the little cuddy down there and saw one little baby cat, and then I saw 3 more, so I went and got the guys and said, there's cats in the boat.
They were actually joking about it. Wouldn't it be funny if Karma could feed the kittens? Ha ha.
Karma had just given birth to Chuck, the pup, a week earlier, and he was clearly well fed. So the introductions were made.
And then she let one latch on, and then they brought in one at a time. And then as soon as you knew it, all 5, the dog and 4 kittens, were feeding off her.
And the dog's milk and affection appeared to be doing the body good.
The nutrition elements are a bit different there, but it has worked, and there's no problems because, you know, babies are given cow's milk, that sort of thing. You know, so there's that cross there that works.
Mother Nature providing an option that these kittens clearly needed, and that's made this gaggle of geese an unusual family to everyone but those inside it.
But they're all quite content.
And with domestic geese able to live 25 years or more, Thomas hopes Nanny will be back for many years to come to welcome in the spring on Vancouver Island.
So many great stories to tell here on Vancouver Island. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.